I know it can be sometimes seem like nothing gets done in Washington. I know it never crossed any of your minds, but the work of the government can be slow and frustrating and sometimes even infuriating. Then the hard work of hours and days and months from people who refuse to give up pays off. History is made. Lives are changed. With this legislation, we're facing up to some of our biggest problems, and we're taking a giant step forward as a nation.
That's President Biden on the surprise and historic deal from Senate Democrats and a potentially major breakthrough for major parts of his agenda. Senator Joe Manchin and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer agreeing last night on a massive spending package after almost a year and a half of off and on negotiations. Now, that caught much of Washington by surprise, including Republican leader Mitch McConnell, who was so convinced it wouldn't happen, he agreed to help pass a completely separate Senate bill. Manchin and Schumer's deal, the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, would lower health care costs, implement a 15% minimum tax for wealthy companies, reduce the national deficit, and invest nearly $370 billion in combating climate change, Congress's biggest climate commitment ever. Joining us now is Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney of New York, chair of the House Oversight and Reform Committee. Congresswoman, it's great to see you again. Thanks for making time for us. So here's what Senator...
Great to see you.
Great to see you as well. Here's what Senator Joe Manchin told NBC News earlier today. Watch.
Got a little bit hot and heated, if you will, but that's the way negotiations go. And he says, well, if you're not going to do that, we'll just do the one thing. And then all hell broke loose Thursday night, people thinking I walked away and done this and that, or I reversed my position. I've never reversed. I've never been in reverse in my lifetime, and I never walked away.
So Democrats, Congresswoman, they have wanted to take this kind of action on climate change, on tax cuts and health care for a very long time. From your vantage point, what does this deal say about what Democrats can achieve?
Well, I think it sends a big message to America that Democrats get things done. This is massively important for the average American. It'll put money back into consumers' pockets, offsetting the impact of inflation pressure. It will incentivize more competition in the energy markets by giving tax credits for clean energy, making it more affordable. It reduces the deficit by $300 billion. It spends, in addition to everything else you said, $124 billion for IRS enforcement, and it will not increase any taxes on Americans making less than $400,000 per year. And very important, a big goal of Democrats has been lowering the cost of prescription drugs. And this will include provisions that will allow Medicare to negotiate for lower drug prices for our seniors. And a big part of the bill that I'm proud of that came out of my committee is moving towards electric vehicles for the postal fleet, making it an example for the country. They were old. They have a big contract out to replace them. They were replacing them with gas guzzlers. We've been pushing all year to move to electric. 40% is electric, and this includes $3 billion to move more of them, and using the stations, the postal stations, as charging stations. It could be a big kick for the country going to electric vehicles. It's good news for everyone.
Yeah, no, that would in itself be just absolutely remarkable to see that transformation. This is a big moment for the Biden administration, certainly a big win as well for the American people, as you just outlined. But what's the strategy now for Democrats? How should Joe Biden, the president, and the Democrats use this moment with this potential game-changing legislation to convince the American people that things are, as you said, actually getting done?
Well, they have to pass it and move it through Washington and into the lives of the American people, and show them that Democrats have their back, have their interest, and are working for a fair economy that works for everyone, and for the 21st century, moving towards actually combating climate change, actually doing something about it. It is a great package, and this builds on the great work that we're doing today on the competition bill that helps manufacturing in America, the CHIPS bill, the American Rescue Plan, the energy plan. It combined the infrastructure plan, the first one that we passed in many years. We have a record to run on that helps people, helps their lives, helps the country.
Let me switch gears, if I can, Congresswoman, and ask you about something very important that we all saw yesterday. Your oversight committee asking gun manufacturers to answer about their personal responsibility for recent tragedies. I want to play for you and some of our viewers some of the victims' families speaking directly to these gun manufacturers.
My son lost a huge part of his innocence. He is not the same person. He's broken.
What are you going to do?
It's okay.
To make sure that your products don't get into the hands of a white supremacist mass shooter ever again, who will take a child's father away.
These were very powerful moments, I think, if the American public saw them, and certainly given what we've been through as a country over the last couple of years, it was just heartwarming and painful to watch at the same time. But what have you learned about these gun makers, and what are your committee's goals?
Well, I was hoping these gun manufacturers would take responsibility and be part of the solution to that. I was hoping they'd stop manufacturing these AR-15s that are weapons of war. They don't belong in our schools. They don't belong in our streets killing people. And I was hoping that they would apologize. I asked them to apologize. The room was filled with victims, survivors that have lost their loved ones recently in mass shootings. And we stand alone. Other countries don't have this problem. They passed sensible gun safety bills after the first mass shooting, and they don't have another one. We just have one after another. It has to stop. We wanted them, at least I wanted them, to take responsibility and start tracking the impact of the sale of their guns on the lives of people, and start tracking how many people they've killed. Manufacturers are required in our country to track and work to make their products safer. Gun manufacturers don't. That is something I'd like to work on. If they won't do it voluntarily, then government has to act and make them be part of the solution.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Hopefully we'll be passing a ban on assault weapons. I was hoping it would pass this week. I'll come back tomorrow or the next day to pass that important bill. We need it.